Animation scripting, week 2, session 3. I guess this is really session 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, 5, but normally it's session 3. Let's just imagine that we had 2 sessions last week, and even though we had 4, and then this will be our 3rd session. So
Okay.
We're using Adobe Flash, and you're all set with Adobe Flash. I posted Misty's flyer, so her hours are posted. I don't think you needed to meet with her last week, correct?
No.
Okay. Well, she's always available during those hours if you need her assistance. But being a directed study, it's kind of like we work one-on-one the whole week, so it's almost like you don't really need to go to the testing center unless I'm the Learning Resource Center, Success Center, unless I'm unavailable. But I think it's working out pretty well where we communicate via text message, and I was glad that when you weren't feeling well on Wednesday night that we were able to, adjust that so that I decided instead of just keep talking for that and teaching for the rest of that hour, we decided that we would meet longer on Thursday to make up for that. And I think that worked out pretty well.
Yes.
So I spoke with the dean, and she's inclined to do 2 times 2 hours, and so that's why I decided to just so that it's consistent from one class to the next in graphic arts, and so that's why I proposed today that we go to the normal 2 hours. 2 times 2 hours. I liked meeting every day, frankly, with you last week, just because meeting for a shorter period of time more often. I liked it. I thought you probably liked that too, because we were able to make some small adjustments and then meet together and the next day and see how your progress was going along. But the dean, associate dean, Holly, she preferred that we not assume that model, but instead go with the model that is advocated as a standard in other classes in the graphic arts department program.
So it doesn't matter to me, whatever you want to do.
That's why I proposed it this morning. So, okay, so tonight's agenda and the week 2 agenda, our session, with Mountain Standard Time, it's now actually 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. But do you have daylight savings time?
Yes.
So is it 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Your time right now? About 7:20?
7:24.
7:24. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the first hour, we'll go over week 2 overview and objectives. We'll go over the readings and tools, and we'll go over the discussion.
Okay.
During our first hour together. on UX and UI for mobile devices. And do you remember what UX stands for? Do you
User experience.
Very good. And do you know what UI stands for?
User interface.
That's right.
I had to think a minute. It's been a while.
That's good. UX and UI. For mobile devices. And as you know, in this course, we are focused on creating something that will work on a mobile device and also something that will work on a larger device display. And the reason why that's important is because an animation is very much like a animation is very much like a picture, in that the size of the picture, the resolution of the picture determines what size of screen that you can put that picture on. For example, if you take a picture that might be, let's say, 400 by 400 pixels, but then you stretch it out to fill out the whole screen, then do you know what happens when that happens?
It cuts part of it off.
Have you ever heard of the phrase pixelation?
Yes.
So,
It makes it blurry.
okay, that's right. Now, just help me just for a second and explain to me why that happens.
Why it makes it blurry?
Yeah, can you help me by?
Because pixels. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. When certain images, I know that when certain images are not certain graphic images, I can't even think right now.
All right, well, let me help you. And so you know what a pixel is, correct? What do you happen to know what the word pixel means? Can you hear me?
Yes. A pixel is like a dot, like a digital image of type, pixel or dots or picture element.
So a pixel is like a dot, and
It's little dots.
little dots.
That make up an image.
Okay, and on your screen, each little dot has just one color.
And it could be many colors.
It could be one of like 16 million colors, but it is just one color.
Yes.
And so if I have a screen, let's say, is 1200 pixels by 800 pixels, do you have any idea of how to calculate how many total pixels are on my screen?
When you had to multiply both those together?
That's exactly right. Why would that be the answer?
Why would that be answer?
Yes. Can you explain why you have to multiply the two together?
Well, one's going vertical, one's going horizontal.
That's right. Okay, good. So you get it. Length times width, and it's a rectangle, so that's how we find out exactly how many total pixels. Now, let's say you've got this screen 1200 pixels wide by 800 pixels tall, and let's say you have a picture that's only 400 pixels wide and 200 pixels tall. But you want to stretch that picture so it fills out your whole screen. Is that possible to do? And if so, what will it look like? So basically, I'm giving you 200 pixels, let's say 400 pixels by 200 pixels, but I'm making you stretch those 400 pixels to now extend across 1,000 pixels. And that's horizontal, and I'm giving you an image that's 200 pixels high, but I'm going to have you stretch it to 800 pixels. So it's kind of like a balloon. You know, have you ever had a balloon that's deflated and it's got some lettering on the outside? But if you blow up the balloon, the lettering kind of stretches out. But when you deflate the balloon, it comes back and is very thick. The lettering is very thick. But when you blow up the balloon, it stretches the lettering. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's kind of like the effect of pixelation. You're taking, let's say in this case, 400 pixels and you're stretching it out to 1,000 pixels, and that's why they call it pixelated, because it's kind of like you don't have enough pixels to spread it. You only have 400 that spreads to 1,000 and 200 that spreads to like 800. So they call it pixelation because it's kind of like paint. If you have some paint that, let's say I give you a bucket of paint and I say, okay, paint this, let's say there's enough paint to paint one room, but I say, I want you to paint 3 rooms with that paint. It's kind of that problem. You stretch it out, and so that's what pixelation does. Now, the reason why it's pertinent here is when we create a movie has the same constraints. You make a certain size movie. And if you stretch out that movie, it will it'll just look, not as sharp and clear. So that's why in this assignment, we're having you create 2 different sizes. One that's about a standard size that will fit a large display, and then one that's a small size that will fit a mobile device. Just because we know in advance that if you create one and try to stretch it, it won't look good. And now one thing I wanted to share is that Adobe Flash actually encodes its images with vector format rather than bitmap. Now, do you know the difference between the two?
I do believe vector you can stretch and it won't bother it, and then with the other one, it will make it where it's so blurry you can't really see what
That's right. That's exactly right. And so the bitmap is kind of like a pixeled image. That's all the information it has. But a vector format actually is like it knows the line, and the lines and the shapes, and when we expand them, it doesn't it's able to accommodate the expansion without a problem. So Adobe Flash actually internally has a vector format, and that allows us to do some stretching. But that would be just for images that you create either in Adobe Illustrator that you've imported, or that would also pertain to images that you created in Adobe Flash. That also is vector format. So, but the images that you will be importing will be bitmapped images. And if we animate those, that we might end up using sprites. But so that's all important. Okay, so the second hour, we'll be working on the assignment overview and then also the assessment overview. Okay, any questions?
No.
All right, just to remind you of the project. By the end of this mod, you will have conceptualized and created a self-promotional infographic that is interactive and animated. You will then deploy it so it can be viewed on the internet, mobile devices, and standalone application. So the interactive, which of these actually, let's see, I was going to ask the question, which of these requires a scripting language, the interactivity or the animation? And the answer is actually both. Both are dependent upon scripting to take place. The Adobe Flash has two file formats, and one is for the ActionScript 3.0 based, and the other is for HTML5 Canvas based. And do you know offhand which one requires the Adobe Flash player?
Which one of those?
Yes. The ActionScript 3.0 or the HTML Canvas?
Wouldn't it be the HTML?
Okay.
Or could it be both?
The Adobe Flash player is the Adobe Flash player is required for the ActionScript 3.0 Adobe Flash files. Those are created as SWF files, which stands for Shockwave file. I'm not sure. I guess the original name for Adobe Flash was Shockwave a long time ago, but that's where it comes from. So that Flash player is needed to process the animations and interactivity for an ActionScript 3.0 project file, which is outputted into an SWF file. Now, the new output that we're striving for is using this Canvas-based project file, and and the output from that is HTML coding and also JavaScript. But it doesn't need the Adobe Flash player. What do you know, what kind of program do you know can process HTML files?
That can process what file or what program?
Yeah, what kind of program, what type of program can view HTML files?
I know CSS can.
Well,
are you talking about that, or are you talking about Adobe product itself?
When you go and surf the internet, those are HTML files that are being displayed.
It could be any. It could be Google Chrome or the Internet Explorer.
Exactly. What kind of program is that? That's an example. Those are examples of blank. Do you know what category those programs?
Browser. I mean,
That's
I don't.
right. That's right.
Oh, I thought it's got to be something simple.
That's it. Very good. So here's what I'm getting at. When we create our project files using the Canvas file type, project file type, we can output HTML and JavaScript files. If we do that, then just the browser alone can work with it. The browser does not need the Adobe Flash Player when it's dealing with HTML and JavaScript. It doesn't need it because it's all that support is built into the browser. But if we had the ActionScript 3.0 project files and we output the SWF files, that would require the Flash Player to be installed. So have you ever heard about how Steve Jobs complained about the Adobe Flash Player and his iPhone?
Did he just not like it, or what?
Yeah, there's a whole story behind it. He claimed that it was slow and that it was buggy, meaning it crashed a lot. If you look under the covers a little bit, if you do a little more research, however, you discover that the Adobe Flash environment allowed for developers to create applications that would run. You create one application and it would run on all types of devices because the vector-based representation, it would be able to expand to fill out a large display or contract to fill out just a small device. Now, even though Steve Jobs was complaining that it was buggy and slow, what he didn't admit to is that he did not like how Adobe was able to work with developers to bring applications to his iPhone. He wanted to control that. And if he enabled Adobe to run their Flash player on his iPhone, it would create an element, a lack of control over the whole development process because developers would be able to create, using Adobe Flash, all the different types of applications that they want without having to pay royalties to iPhone to be in their what do you call it? What's it called? Where do you download all the software from? iTunes. Steve Jobs wanted to control not only music through iTunes, he also wanted to control the distribution of apps. You know what I mean when I say apps?
Yes.
Little programs. Adobe Flash, with its Flash player, provided a whole mechanism whereby developers could bypass the licensing costs and mechanisms that that Apple wanted to control. So he had an ulterior motive by dissing the Flash player. He wanted to make more money. And so that was one of the reasons why Steve Jobs dissed Adobe Flash. And what's true is it was very effective, his campaign to negate the value of Adobe Flash. Very, very effective. He literally shot that high rising bird out of the sky.
Sorry.
So that is why we actually are getting away from the Flash player. We're getting this HTML5 was actually an attempt to it's just an attempt to be able to create something that didn't depend upon the Flash player. So that's why we are focused on that. Our goal is to create an app that can be done and then only used in the browser rather than a Flash player. So that's why the Adobe ActionScript 3.0 project files, those are not what we're going to strive for. We're going to strive for the HTML5 canvas, which can be used, and the output of which can be just used in the browser. So here's the week 2 overview, and that is this week we will delve further into UX and UI and start putting together the infographic to be animated for the final project. It's really just the assets, and you actually are almost done already. You've got images. Maybe you're still looking for. Have you begun getting your images?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can get images and little icons, anything that you're going to be using as an asset. And we have 2 options. We can either save them in a separate file, or we can begin our project file and then import them. We'll double check how clear the requirements are on that. So the objectives for this week: define and understand the importance of creating a good user interface for desktop and mobile devices. Create and execute original artwork pertaining to a self-promotional piece. So let's see. Let's now look at the discussion. It's going to be 60 points. The assignment, 120. Building the assets. And then the assessment, 50 points. Actually, week 2 assessment should be 100 points. I'll double check that. It may be a typo. We'll double check that later. So these are the readings and tools for this week: creating and publishing an HTML5 Canvas document. That is exactly what I was talking to you about a moment ago. And this link actually is a documentation of the process of going from ActionScript 3.0 to an HTML5 Canvas document and how to do that. And here is the next thing in our readings and tools: creating shapes in the merge and object drawing modes. This is a link to Lynda. Have you ever been to lynda.com before?
Yes.
I'll show you how to access that. Have you done
No,
any?
I have it already. I have. I go there to do like little classes every once in a while. So I have access to it.
Okay. We'll have a refresher. That's a refresher on using the shape tool. The difference between object and merge drawing. If you don't remember what that means or haven't yet heard, the object drawing is like taking 2 of the same colored things, putting on top of each other, but then move in your drawing, but then moving them back apart and they retain their shape. Whereas a merge is if they're the same color, you bring them together, they actually kind of form a new image, and then when you pull them apart, they actually become one when you bring the two together. So the difference between merge and object drawing is just two different modes that you can set in Adobe Flash. The next item on our reading tools is to draw and animate strokes with variable width. There is this is an Adobe website link exploring new features that might be used in your infographic. The next item is creating WebGL content. Now, WebGL is, let me back up for a second. Because Adobe Flash had been developed for so long, it had developed some component libraries that were pretty powerful. And when we go away from that ActionScript project file format, we leave behind some of these very well developed components and library parts. And so that is why Adobe Flash kind of had to work quickly to, okay, if we have to get rid of the Adobe Flash player, we're going to have to come up with a way to do in a new Canvas document what we were able to do in an ActionScript 3.0 document. And so in doing that, they first integrated with some software that was developed and published for free called Create.js, and that enabled Adobe Flash to quickly put in a JavaScript processor right in their file format. That's a JavaScript processor. Well, the same thing happened when it came to two-dimensional and three-dimensional image manipulation. And this WebGL it's like that Create.js library of routines, but it is for 2D and 3D image manipulation. And so two-dimensional and three-dimensional image manipulation. That's something you could have done with just the Adobe Flash player and the ActionScript 3.0 file, but because we're going away from it, they had to substitute that functionality somehow. In the same way they did with Create.js, they brought in the JavaScript libraries. So did they bring in WebGL in order to be able to do two-dimensional and three-dimensional processing. And that also is a JavaScript library. So basically they're saying, hey, guys, we're phasing out ActionScript 3.0 with its SWF files, but we're phasing in the Create.js JavaScript libraries that you can use, and also the WebGL library. And when I say library, I simply mean a bunch of code that is added that you can take advantage of when you're doing your scripting. It's like going to a library and just pulling out books. It's the same thing with WebGL content or Create.js content. There are going to be snippets of code that you'll be able to use that's already done. You might have to customize a little bit, but it's already done for you to use. Some more information on WebGL. Okay, so let's see. Let me look at my watch really quick. 6:54. Okay, so let's take, I'll pause the recording and we'll take a 10-minute break and resume in 10 minutes. So zoom. There we go. Okay, are you there?
Yes, just holler me when you get back.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Okay, what do you see on the screen right now?
Right. The PowerPoint.
Okay, good. Right there. Okay, good. Okay, this week's discussion is some more sharing of your project in your discussion post. And then some detail about how you're going to change the UX and UI for a mobile device. Now, normally, let's see if this link works. I think it's probably to the other class I taught, so let me take it to this, the one that we are in. Okay, so what do you see on the screen now? Can you see? Can you hear me?
Week 2 discussion.
Okay, good. So I'll just read through this. The UX and UI for mobile devices. Understanding the needs of our target audience is paramount. People no longer rely on their desktop computers or laptop to surf the web, to research and find any information. The trend is creating content that is not only well laid out on a larger monitor, but to make it have a good user interface and a good user experience on mobile devices. As designers, our job isn't to just create stunning graphics for print and websites, but to incorporate our designs to achieve a good UX and UI on mobile devices. Let me stop right there and mention that the statistics are showing that a larger and larger amount of people are surfing the internet with their smartphone, not at their desktop computer. In fact, I think the numbers are about half and half. No. Half people surfing on the desktop and half people surfing on their smartphone. So given that, that's why we're focused on doing both and planning both. So for the first part of this discussion, research and write a minimum of 100 words with a minimum of 2 citations about best practices of creating content for mobile devices that are not only creative but employ good UX and UI. ProQuest and Shark are great places to start. And be sure to not copy and paste more than 20% of your total summary for your citations. A minimum of 80% must be in your own words. So if you've used ProQuest before, probably have.
Yes.
Okay, good. And 2 citations. Have you ever used ProQuest and found out how to use their own citation that they have created?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so for the second part of this discussion, explain how your layout for your mobile device achieves good UX and UI on the mobile device, and device Be specific on why you did what you did. Share your thought process. Include your storyboard for your desktop and mobile version to show how you solved the issues with dealing with viewing on a smaller device. So let me stop right there. So how did you handle this issue? What were your thoughts when you created your mobile device layout?
I know I had to make things a little bit smaller on the template itself, so I figured that's what's going to happen when you have a mobile device. It can't be the same width and height that you have on a web page on a regular computer.
Okay. So does that mean that, are you going to use the same graphics for the Texas map, or are you going to have a different size, or what? How
I
about,
put a different size of a Texas map. I mean, it's the same one, it's just shrunk.
okay, and so then what about all your images that you are going to put on the screen?
I don't know. I'm going to have to make them smaller, but I don't know how to do that part.
Sizing it down? But it would be the same process that you would use for sizing down your
But once it plays, will it actually work? That's what I'm scared of, because I mean, I'm not worried about the web page itself. I'm more worried about, like, say, on my Samsung, when I go look at that site, am I going to be able to see it on here? On my mobile device.
Right, and that's exactly what this is discussing. I want to show you for a minute how we handle this we're at my job. Oh, that's not coming up. I wonder why. I was going to show you how it works for the two different size. For mobile and for desktop. It's kind of strange. Okay, that worked. So I want you to imagine for a minute and watch how things get reformatted automatically. Watch what happens. On a smaller display, this is how our website reacts. Did you see that?
Yes, it fixes itself.
You're right. It went from this design to that design. So this is the design for large displays, and this design right there is for a tablet display. And then,
so we have to fix it to where it can pan in or out in any device, is what you're basically saying, with no problems.
the point
everything cut off.
Right. The point of this demonstration is really to show you how we handle this problem dynamically. And then when we get smaller, there we just switched again. Let me try that. Go from here. See, it switches right there. This just is constraining the size dynamically. The menu up here, you can see this changed. Now, the point I'm making here is how we use large graphics and large text for the large screen, but then we use smaller graphics and we even reformat the whole display. So you might want to consider, I know that your design is identical with the items where they are, but you might want to consider possibly doing a slightly different design. Here's an example, and that is the example I was thinking of was for you to perhaps, when you have the smaller design, you could, instead of having images to the left, in fact, I think I've got your assignment here. So this is your display, your large display, computer display. Here is your small one. So it's a possibility that this might be too small, but we'll have to see. I was thinking that if it got too small, then you could redesign your mobile design such that, for example, instead of having two images here, one of the city, the Texas map, and also one of the pictures, that you have just like one space where images go, and when the images come in, they like overwrite the area where the Texas map is. So we'll have to play it by ear to see how it turns out when you do it. But that is an option to literally redesign it for the mobile and have a different layout for mobile. Let's see.
Okay.
All right, so that's a discussion of your mobile interface, mobile device. For the second part of this discussion, explain how your layout for your mobile device achieves good UX and UI. Be specific on why you did what you did, and share your thought process. Include your storyboard for your desktop and mobile version to show how you solve the issues with dealing with viewing on a smaller device. Include a JPEG or PNG image of your storyboards you created in week one's assignment. Do you know how to do that? You can, see, you've got Windows, so you'd have to do like a print screen to create an image. That's what this is talking about here. It says do not link a PDF. They want you to embed the image of your discussion right in the discussion rather than a link to the PDF. And so then here you talk about how you resolve your layout to achieve good UX and UI on the mobile device. So
Can I not use snippet? I can't even talk.
no, that's very good. I've used that before in Windows. That's perfect.
Because then it'll grab the whole thing, and I won't have to worry about I won't have to bring images in. It'll automatically grab it. and then I can just grab it off of what our files on the board that we have. What is it on our Canvas in our account? And we can put it on there that way. It'll be a picture, but it'll still work.
So they'll want you.
It'll still be a JPEG. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, just we're talking about embedding the image of the storyboard. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about there?
It's a JPEG or a PNG, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yep, that'd be good. And then here, write your thought process. So, how you resolve your layout to achieve good UX and UI on a mobile device. So that's a little bit what the reference is to here, meaning, so this is very similar to this. I guess you've gone vertical, which is good.
So change the other one probably without the Texas, and it can just bring up Austin, Dallas, Houston, and the pictures itself. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying this is when you'll discuss how you decided to, I guess mainly you went to a portrait mode, and by doing portrait, that forces the pictures down below. And that's how they are here.
I mean, so I can reverse that.
Well, I'm just saying that's the process you'll explain. We're kind of assuming that the real estate or the area will still work. I'm a little bit concerned about the size of the text here and here.
Well, that's just to give you an idea. I mean, it's gonna have just, when it starts playing, it's gonna bring each text up, but it's gonna be bigger than what I'm showing here. And then it's gonna show the picture of that actual text. Like this one is the Texas State History Museum. It's gonna show a picture of the Texas State History Museum. I was gonna have this pan in, just this one at a time. Like this one out here that says the Texas State History Museum, it's going to pop in, and then it will bring the picture up of the museum itself. And then it'll bring up whatever this one is, something garden. I can't hardly read it because it's little. And then it'll bring the picture up, and then the Capitol, and then it'll bring the picture up. You know what I'm talking about? They're not going to be all on there. Right. I don't know yet how that's going to work. Because, see, yeah. I can do the picture box bigger than what it is right now. I just did it that way for now, just to kind of make it clean cut, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
But I can take off, actually, the figure of the Texas and just bring in Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, at the very top or at the very bottom. It doesn't matter, the words. And that way it's not showing, but just the pictures, and the Austin will pop out, and then all this other stuff will start coming in on that one scene. Same thing with all the rest of the scenes.
I'm wondering if this text will be easy to see on a little mobile screen.
I don't know. That's what my question was on the. I mean, we can make the text probably bigger. I just did it that way for the benefit of the storyboard, because I couldn't get it any better. I mean, I can even take that arrow off and it can be bigger.
Possibly. These are the kind of conversations that this discussion will have you get into.
Because, see, I don't necessarily have to have Dallas and all that on that map. Just at the beginning, maybe, you know, the first scene, but other than that, I don't have to have that on there. I can just have the words Austin, Texas, or just Austin, because we already know it's going to be Texas. Dallas, Houston, and put favorite points or favorite whatever. I mean, I don't know. I haven't ever done a mobile. I've done it on a different program with a different class, but not like this, ever. It's always just been the website itself. So this is new, so.
Okay.
So hopefully you can teach me what I need to do, because I don't know.
Well,
I didn't know how to fix it, so.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to sometimes do trial and error, you know, when you take your assets and see if they fit. And you might have to this week create assets for the large screen and then create a duplicate set of assets for the small screen, knowing full well that you know, you have to be flexible. And so the images for the large screen would go, and then same images, I guess, would then be sized for either the large or the small screen. So the sizing of it. So we have a lot of variables here. One is the size of the text. Another one is the size of the picture itself. The question is this too crowded? Do we have to come up with a different design because of mobile? Things like that.
And see, I don't know that because this is different.
Yeah.
Because we don't necessarily have to have the Texas emblem on every scene. We can just put it on the first, and maybe the last one don't even have to have it, just the first one.
Yeah. That's a good idea, frankly.
All the rest don't have any on it. No kind of pictures, except for the pictures that show on the different sites in Austin or Dallas or whatever. That's what I was thinking. And the words ain't gonna matter. It's just gonna say Austin, and it'll say, I won't have to put Bob whatever. I could just put the State History Museum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to put the whole thing, because you know they're gonna find that by looking at the picture.
Right. And I just thought of another idea that you might want to consider for your mobile design. I'm not saying that you have clutter problems on your larger one, but this one I think might become a problem. And so one thought we said, just have the space of displaying an image be shared, the same space, and then just have a sequence. You said don't even display the city, which or the state map. That's also a possibility. Let's see. The idea I just thought of was transition. So between the scenes, it would show you going to a different city, not walking so much as we're going to show you an image like that very first image, scene 2, Texas and Austin. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So the idea I had there was, instead of having it all on your screen, taking up all the screen real estate, and this is a small device, so one thing you could do is have the sequence such that scene 2 started off with just a picture of the state of Texas plus Austin, and then it panned out and then came in the presentation on Austin, such as the words and or the you could just have the image itself of the map, and then it fades away. It shows Austin, then it fades away, and then you get into the pictures. So So that way you can, that's just another possible design, and that way it doesn't have to have both on the same device at the same time, because that might get crowded. And then I just have another idea, and that is, if you like this idea of showing the map plus the city and then fading that out and fading in the pictures one at a time, if you like that idea, then you can add even one other idea, and that is the text that you normally were going to see off, in between here, the picture and the description text that's between the pictures and the map. You could have that appearing on top of each image, and that way you don't need real estate for it, and you superimpose upon the image and you tell where it needs it, and then the picture's there, and then we can fade in. You keep the picture there, then fade in what it is. This is the Bob Bullock Texas State History Museum. Fade it out, then fade it in again. So just some ideas of how to use this real estate differently than you currently are using it, and to make it just descriptive of the map. Fades out, picture fades in, and then title fades in. Title fades out, picture fades out. Another picture from Austin fades in, and then picture, or maybe we're in Dallas now, fades out. Then we do the pictures, and one at a time we display the what is on each picture. So I'm just kind of going over you other types of designs that might work better for a small device. What do you think of what I'm saying? Go ahead and comment for a little bit. I've been talking a lot. What do you think of these ideas of changing, just other ideas of doing your mobile design?
I think it would work. Can you hear me? Hello? Did you mute me?
No. I hear you loud and clear.
Hello? I lost you is what it was. It kind of like blanked out for a minute.
Yeah, I just put my mute on so I could hear just you.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure. I think I agree with what you're saying. Just take the map. I don't even think we would need the map, actually, to tell you the truth. I don't know what you think, but I think it should be just like you said. It can bring in the title to kind of show what's fixing to happen with the picture. And then the title kind of leaves, and then the picture shows up, and then it fades out, and then the next title comes up, and it fades out, then the picture, and it keeps on going for each city. I don't know if that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, just a different design that potentially will resolve the issues of having so much on a small device. And so we just are coming up with different ideas on UX and UI that make it so that it is easier to experience rather than all at once like this current design is. Okay, all right, so that I think is what this is talking about here. Explain how your layout for your mobile device achieves good UX and UI, and that is along the lines of what we were just describing. Different ideas of not having so much content taking up the screen. Because keep in mind, if you do it the way your current design is, you're forcing the images to be small. They're going to be at least half half the size of your, this is, in fact, it's less than half. It's about a third. Whereas a different design might be one that allows each picture to take up the full screen. That was an example of what we were just talking about. So, this other design might maximize the area that you can see each of these pictures. It might reorganize the text so that you even have that, take advantage of that area. And then it also might reorganize the map, which is definitely taking up half of the screen already.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what it's referring to here. Be specific on why you did what you did. Share your thought process. It's kind of what we've been talking about, different ideas. Having the image of the map appear first and then dissolve away when the pictures start. And then having, instead of text showing up on a different part of the screen, instead the text shows up right on top of the item. So those are some ideas. So, second part, we got that. Example, explain that. Read the photo, okay. All right, so given that, how do you feel about tackling this discussion question for UX and UI for mobile devices?
I can do my best. That's all I can do.
That's great. All right. Let's see here. Let's look to, that's the discussion question. Now let's talk about the assignment for this week. Building the assets. This week you will set up your 2 documents for each respective resolutions and begin to create your assets and import any existing assets you may be using. Well, so you see here it does say 2 documents, right? And so I'll show you how to create the 2 documents. And begin to create your assets and import any existing assets you may be using. So not only is it creating, but it's also importing.
Okay.
There's no animation at all this week. This week, you will set up your 2 documents for each respective resolutions and begin to create your assets and import any existing assets you may be using. Be sure to create your own original art for any buttons or graphics, etc. This is a self-promotional piece, so using clip art or any free stock images wouldn't be a good choice. Now, I see how you were concerned about that, and we just need to remind ourselves that we're not doing a portfolio. It is self-promotional, but it's going to be self-promotional in that it shows your talents in creating animations. It's not so much self-promotional as it's displaying your portfolio. And I think that the context of this concern has to do with that. Okay, so anytime you represent yourself to obtain work using someone else's artwork, even if you paid for it, was distributed relatively free, should be avoided at all costs. So now, yours is slightly different because you are using pictures, photos, and so I don't know that there's much that you can really show off as far as original work. What are your thoughts on that?
I can give a reference of where I got them.
Mm-hmm.
And they are free images. They are free images. I made sure.
Okay. So.
If you need me to draw them, I'll draw them, but it's going to be hard.
No, I don't understand. What would you draw?
I don't know.
Let's see. Remember that image of that girl, or the little girl, the animated girl that you had?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be interesting for you to be able to bring back that girl? Was that done in Adobe Flash?
Illustrator, I do believe.
No, it was an animation though, right?
Yes, it might have been Animate.
I'm really curious because
Animate CC or whatever it was. So I guess it'd be the same thing as Flash, correct?
Animate actually is a different Edge Animate is.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's a different product.
But I do believe we made it in Illustrator and then transferred over to Edge Animate.
What I was thinking is it'd be interesting possibly to bring that little girl back into this animation and maybe include her somehow. She might be in the lower corner and smile a couple, or I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking of ways to include your own work, your own custom work. Okay, so those are some ideas. All right. You can draw your assets in Illustrator, Photoshop, or Animate, but be sure to save them in the correct format required for animating. Your Animate CC document can be set up as an HTML5 canvas or ActionScript 3 for your desktop and mobile version to start. Just remember, as we learned in week 1, not all tools are available in HTML5 Canvas, and not all actions or properties are converted over to HTML5 Canvas from ActionScript 3. So here, the assignment says you can either start from HTML5 Canvas or ActionScript 3 for your desktop mobile version to start. Just remember, as we learned week 1, not all tools are available in HTML5 Canvas, and not all actions or properties are converted over to HTML5 Canvas from ActionScript 3. So what they're saying is, keep in mind, the original Adobe Flash with ActionScript 3 actually is more robust. There are opportunities that not so much available perhaps in HTML5 Canvas or JavaScript. So that's the warning here. Just keep in mind that ActionScript 3 has been around for a long time, and so some planning ahead is important when you start your project. Arrange all the assets in the initial composition that you determine in your storyboard. Okay, so here they're talking about arranging them, and they can be done, for example, in different layers on your timeline. And you would probably want to have one image per layer. And then you don't have to animate them yet, but that's what they're talking about here. Arrange all the assets in the initial composition that you determine in your storyboard. So you could have, let's say you're using 15 pictures, you could have 15 layers, one image imported per picture or per layer. For assets that are hidden off the stage that will be available when the user interacts with the infographic, can be placed off the stage or have them in your library. So that is hidden off the stage, can be placed off the stage, have them in your library. So either one. So how far do we arrange them? let's see, bringing them in and maybe situating them. Again, we don't have to do any animation. We're just kind of physically placing these items on the table. Animation for this phase isn't necessary unless you are comfortable animating it. So, assignment resources. So, see readings tools with the course media page for tutorials on setting up your documents. More instruction is found in the live session recordings as well. So, create 2 documents. We'll go over these steps right now. Create 2 documents in Adobe Animate, formerly Flash. Stage size for mobile would be that size, vertical or horizontal based. Stage size for desktop, 1280 by 720. All right, so let's start that. I'm going to run Adobe Flash CC 2015. I'm going to do step 1 and step 2 here. Okay, so step 1, create 2 documents in Adobe Animate from a Flash. 640 by 1136. This is the one for the mobile. 640 by 1136. So the very first question is really actually this question up here, which is document can be set up as an HTML5 canvas or ActionScript 3 for your desktop and mobile version to start. So that's where we are in this whole thing. And the question here is, do you want this kind here or that kind there? So let's just review for a second. Let's see. This here is the project file for ActionScript 3. That corresponds to this here, right there. And that one there, HTML5 canvas, that one corresponds to this one here. Now, can you tell me which one of these, when output, will create SWF files? Do you know? This file format? HTML5 campus.
Wouldn't it be the ActionScript?
Right. AS3 is the ActionScript. Right there, ActionScript. See the AS3? That's ActionScript 3.0. So when you do that, you'll see there's nothing right here after it. Now let's go back. So when we publish this one, when we publish it, it will output an SWF file. All right, so let's see if I can go find where that got published. It's not showing up. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna first save to see where it goes. They both are FLA files, so it's a little confusing, but only one of them has what it is next to the name. see here. File. See, now we have it saved. File. Let's just glance at the published settings. So you can see it's going to create an SWF file. Now, will this one require the Flash player?
No.
Can you hear me?
I said no, but it says up here at the top it says target Flash Player 17, so I guess it does.
Yeah, that's right. Good. The SWF will require the Flash player. Scripting is ActionScript 3.0. So that's that one. I was just thinking there for a second. So that does create SWF. Click publish, and that would create that file. Okay. Now, then let's do file new, and I'll show you the other kind. Instead of that, we're not going to choose that one.
He's up here.
Files. So file, save as, and this is ActionScript 3, and then this would be let's just go Canvas, HTML 5, save. Okay, so here you can see it says Canvas right there. Now they put in that Canvas there, and this is to distinguish this type of project file with this kind. This one, which is ActionScript 3 based, is different, and this one's going to require the SWF, the Flash player, but this one here, the output for it is going to be different. So File, Publish Settings, and you can see the output is going to be JavaScript and HTML file format with images in the images folder. So this output's different. So which one of these, click OK. So which one of these can be seen in a browser?
The Canvas HTML 5.
Yes, this one can be seen in a browser. This one requires the Flash player. So your Animate Format Flash document can be set up as an HTML5 canvas or AS3 for your desktop and mobile version to start. Just remember, as we learned, not all tools are available in HTML5 canvas. Not all actions or properties are converted over to HTML5 from there. Okay. So, okay, so now you get the distinction between those two. Now let's come down here and maybe we'll go with the HTML5 canvas one. We'll go with that format. And so 640 by 1136. So we click here. I reselect my workspace because I'd already changed it. This is the workspace drop down, and if you make changes to it, it goes to it. So I had made it size down, but I wanted to get back to the original so you could see these properties. So I click here, properties, and now right here is the size. Okay, so right here we do 640 by 1136. 640 1136. And then 1136. C size for desktop, vertical or horizontal. So we're doing the mobile. So what I'm going to do is grab this like this. You can put your first and last name there. Or maybe I'll just do this. Let me grab it from there to there. Okay, so then, so we got the size, and now we do File, Save As, and we choose Command B, and then it's first dot last. Let's see, so first dash last, first dot last. Chip dot Brown, and this is a mobile. We click Save. 640 by 1136. It's the mobile one, and it's a canvas type, which is fine. Now, next one is the desktop one, and we'll start here. Well, let's see, 1280 by 720. So what I'm going to do, 1280, I think this is by 720. 720. Okay. Now we'll do File, Save As. Now let's make a new copy. Let's see. The web one. Click Save. Let me get rid of this one here. So I should have, I did a File Save As the other. Now I actually have both here. I can bring up both. The mobile, I'll just bring that up. And so now we've got both up. It kind of closed this one when it saved, when I told it to save a new one. So this is the web one, the larger display here. And this is the 640 by 1136, is that right? Yep, 640 by 1136 for the mobile. Then we come over here, click on, this is two different project files going now. 1280 by 720, and this is the web. Okay, so far so good. How are you doing?
I'm here still.
All right, good. All right, so now that you have those two project files, the next thing is to create layers and then bring in your assets. You can do File, Import to Library, all your images, and they'll go in the library, and then you can drag them out of the library. One at a time, one per layer. Now it's 8:03 right now. Let's see.
And you need to charge your computer. It's 23%.
Okay, thank you. Wow, very observant.
Yeah, because if it goes zero, well, you have to go talk to me for a minute. You have to go to another computer.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Let's see. Let me pause the recording while I get some images, and I'll show you how to import them. In fact, one thing we can do is, if you want, you can take a little break while I'll stop the recording, and then we can take a little break while I go and get some images, and I can get my. Well, are you okay for time? It's normally we'd be done like right now, but It's up to you. If you can, you go a little further, or do you want to call it a night?
Much further.
Pardon me?
How much further?
Oh, I was thinking maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So I'll stop the recording.